Kevin J. Johnston, the #1 name in the land of the North, he's risen to fame. 40 years deep in the law he's read. Now the CRA shakes in fear and dread. Stop paying tax forever, my friend. With Kevin J. Johnston, the fight doesn't end. Corporate debt, he'll make it all good. He's the man the CRA misunderstood. They vanish like mist when Kevin shows up with his legal fist. No more matching, no more lies, just clean-cut books and clear blue skies. Stop paying tax forever, my friend. With Kevin J. Johnston, the rules start to bend. The CRA can scream and shout, but Kevin knows how to throw them out. They claim they've got the final say, but Kevin proves there's a better way. He fights for truth, he fights for you, and teaches what the courts won't do. Forever today. Let Kevin J. Johnston show you the way. The expert, the rebel, the man with a plan. He's saving this nation, one client per hand. He's got 40 years of tax law knowing and corporate skills that keep cash flowing. And GST payroll all in line. He'll save your neck and every dime. He studied law, both civil crime, and makes tax code sound so sublime. With stand-up jokes and punchlines tight, he makes your seminar a night of light. Kevin J, CRA just runs away. He's the tax manslayer with a legal plan, the best-looking genius in the land. Kevin J, taking all your tax away. If the government's scared, then it's safe to say he's the hero of the North, Kevin J. 2 million women cast their vote, said Kevin's hot, that's all she wrote. The suits at CRA can't compete, he's beaten them clean without deceit. 100 mil he's saved so far, he's raising truth like a legal star. And if you think you owe the state, he'll show you how to terminate. Kevin J, CRA just runs away. He's the tax manslayer with a legal plan, the best-looking genius in the land. Kevin J, taking all your tax away. If the government's scared, then it's safe to say
Welcome to the Tax and Money Show. This is Kevin J. Johnston talking to you. We are at the 1st of July in 2025, and we're going to be talking about why you should never go bankrupt and how to never pay capital gains again in Canada. Oh my God. Thanks everyone for being here. I really do appreciate all of you showing up for tonight's show. There's a lot to go through tonight. In fact, I've got about 50 slides to get through tonight. So we're going to try to rifle through them as quickly as we possibly can. But I want to say thank you to everybody who took time out of their drinking and their weed smoking and their partying on Canada Day to come on over here and spend some time with me. But let's really make it worthwhile. Everyone's got to start liking right now. If you're over here on TikTok, come on, 2 fingers. It's free. It's free. Just get the double fingers going. The likes are going to fly. Get the sharing going. Over here on Instagram, I think you just tap the screen somewhere like here, and it'll start to put some likes up. If you're watching on Rumble, right over here, there's a like button. If you're on Facebook, all of you know how to share and like on Facebook. If you're on Kick, same thing, double fingers on the screen. My God, we're everywhere because we have to be everywhere. The more you like it, the more the algorithm throws it out for the public to hear what I have to say. The anecdotal tale of the day, I don't know, is there one? I'm just letting everyone know that I dropped $100,000 this morning on XRP. Yes, I did go ahead and buy $100,000 of XRP. All the professionals that I deal with, now I'm not telling you that I know this for a fact, but I am saying that the professionals I deal with are all indicating that XRP is about to climb between 4 and 6 times in value. They are expecting a $50 value by the end of this year. I'm thinking, all right, well, if I'm buying it at like $2.10 US, let's drop 100K. Let's octuple my money. I'd be all right with that. If I got 800K on a 100K investment, I'm buying these guys drinks. I'm not even a drinker, but I'll buy drinks and actually drink with them, saying thank you very much for the advice. All right, for everybody who wants to get a calendar date, I know that Christine, our right-hand man here, is opening up Fridays. We're going to have Friday mornings available as consultation times at, I think it's 9 and 10 a.m. Eastern time for at least the next 14 Fridays, because I got a whole bunch of meetings that were already booked in those times, and I got those meetings completed early. So yes, there will be some more times available for sale. Maybe just wait about an hour or so from right now, which is 9:08 p.m. Eastern time, and then get in there and start buying some stuff up. A CRA, this is a good one. I like this comment. A CRA agent told me you will be arrested the second you set foot on Canadian soil. Is that true? I don't know. Is it? What would the CRA do to get me arrested? The CRA says a lot of things. The CRA does not like me very much. And I know that the CRA, the Canada Revenue Agency, is duplicating my videos and putting out bogus channels out there. The CRA, they're upset because they can't stop me. All right. First off, I'm not doing anything illegal. That's number one. Number two, I'm not on Canadian soil. And it's not for any reason other than there's no opportunities in Canada. None. The economy's dead. And Carney is going to kill what is left of that economy. There's just nothing there. All right. Now, the other thing is, we've talked about this before, but I have to be careful how I word it because the TikTok algorithm will probably block me. But I don't want to be around weak men and the crazy feminazis, and I don't want to be around the extreme left wing. I don't want to be around a weak society anymore. It's very debilitating. I can't think and concentrate when I'm around people like that. And unfortunately, that's the way that the country functions currently, and I don't want to be a part of it. So I'm in a place where I can think freely. And if TikTok does end the broadcast early, then just head over to Kevin J. Johnston Forever on Instagram. Just do that, and we'll continue to talk there. Let's dive into this, everybody. We have a very bizarre issue here. I have a client. I'm not going to name the client. I'm going to say that he is someone that got ripped off badly. All right. So the way that it works is the client owed a lot of money, about $400,000 in his corporation, and didn't know what to do. Hadn't met me yet. So he went to a bankruptcy, insolvency expert company and so on. Here's what you would think. All right. I'm going to say this from a couple of different perspectives. If you are going to somebody who claims that they are an expert in bankruptcy and insolvency, you would expect them to do a really good job for you and help you go bankrupt so that you do not owe anything, like $0. That's what it should be, you would think. But the agency that my client went to, and we're going to talk about them in a minute here, but the agency took his corporation and then got it shut down, then stated that it was going bankrupt. Then what they did, without the Canada Revenue Agency even asking them to do this, was they took his GST debt and his payroll debt, which was about $170,000 in debt, and moved it to his personal name. He went to these people with zero personal tax debt. Now, personally, because of the bankruptcy company, he owes $170,000. Yeah, that's incredible. All right. This is what I'm talking about. We've covered this before, but I'm reaffirming this in your minds now. This is what bankruptcy trustees do. They work for the CRA, except the CRA doesn't pay them. You do. So this man spent $40,000 and he had zero personal debt. He paid $40,000 and now he has $170,000 of debt. Who is this company, you might ask? Everybody, I know that you're not going to see it over here on Instagram and you won't see it over here on TikTok, but I'm going to read everything out so that all of you could look it up for yourselves. And I don't normally ask that everybody give a company a really bad review, but in this particular case, I would love 10,000 people to give this company 1 star and accuse them of what they really are: thieves, liars, and criminals. So here we go. This is the criminal here. Her name is Ianina Ragumov. I can't even pronounce the name. I'll spell it for you. Her first name is Ianina. The last name is Raguimov. So I called this individual today, and I'm not done giving you the information on this individual, but I called this person. It was yesterday. I called to state that I needed to understand why you would take $170,000 of corporate debt and move it to the personal side. Why would that happen? First thing, it's the law. It's not the law. All right, that's the first thing that she says. Then she says it's the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Act, and you have to do what they say. No, you do not have to do anything that the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Act says. So I did ask, why did you not suggest a share sale? Why did you not suggest that a third party could buy the corporation and take all of the debt away? Why? And that's when she said, this conversation's over. I'm not comfortable answering these questions anymore. Yeah, that's the stunt that she pulled. She lied right there. She got caught in a lie and ended the conversation and hung up on me. Now that pisses me off. Hanging up on me is the wrong thing to do. Why? Because I'm going to tell the world who and what you are. This individual is a liar, a dissimulator, and a criminal. Her name is Ianina Ragumov. The company is called Albert Gelman. Albert, we all know how to spell that. And the last name is Gelman. And they say that they're solving insolvency. No, what they do is they screw you. They put you into heavy duty debt and they take your money from you to do this. And then they tell you that it's all your fault when it's actually their fault for being criminals. Her phone number, everyone write this down, please. This is a publicly available company, so I'm not giving away private information here. This information is on their website. I'm just reading exactly what they put on their website. I didn't even change the wording. She calls herself a Director, Consumer and Small Business Group, BACIRPLIT, whatever those mean. Nothing, in fact. Her phone number is 416-504-1650. Her extension is 119. And her email address, if anybody cares, is IRAGUIMOV@albertgelman.com. This individual took $40,000 from my client and put him $170,000 in debt. And she did it in just one day. Now, does that sound like somebody who's working for you, the client, or does that sound like somebody who is working for the CRA? Now, I'm going to make a slide available. And in fact, that slide, Christine is going to be putting it up on my Facebook page for all of you to see, which is Mr. Kevin J. Johnston. And I've got a secondary one that is called Official Kevin J. Johnston. And you'll be able to read the letter that I sent into the organization. And I told them, you got to refund the client's money and you have to revive the corporation that you shut down, because that's not what you were hired to do, and leave my client alone forever. Now, in true cowardly fashion, which is what cowards and thieves always do, they chose to simply ignore the letter. Now, I've given them until noon on Friday before we take action. But I did explain to my client, you are fully within your rights to sue these people. This is fraud. It is fraud. They told you that you were going to have zero debt. And now you got $170,000 of debt. Now, but now the client's talking to me. Here's what I do. This is how we solve this problem. This ridiculous corporation, they're not going to revive the corp because they've got pride. And they're going to think, oh, this Kevin guy, well, we can beat him. You're going to learn something new. you ain't beating me. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to revive the corporation. We're going to file a lawsuit for tort fraud. And in the tort lawsuit, we're going to be asking for money, lots and lots of money. And we're going to be asking for criminal charges to be filed, which is what a tort lawsuit is all about. And then I'm going to buy his corporation from him and take all that GST and what's it called, their payroll debt off of him personally, put it back in the corporation where it belongs. And then I'm going to buy the corporation. That's how we deal with this. So everybody watching needs to leave a 1-star review immediately on this company. Again, it's Albert Gelman. Albert, the last name is Gelman, Albert Gelman. They cannot be allowed to do this to us. Okay. The reason I'm saying do this is not because she hung up on me, but it's because she's literally, the whole corporation, they are literally destroying lives. Now, here we are on Rumble. Where are we here? I'm trying to get the image up for you to see. There it is. There we go. And let me just turn that off. All right. So you're seeing these individuals. You got Brian Gelman. You got Tom McElroy, Adam Zeldin. You know, they don't look like overtly conservative individuals. They look quite left-wing to me. You got Dan Wu, Ionina Arulyumov, Suzette Warner. Oh God, man. She looks like Shrek. And then we got Chris Rowe, Terry Scott, Stephen Patucci. What's wrong with him? Look at his face. There's something wrong with him. Mahmoud Shafiki, Robert Bubyanek, Daphne Cherniak, and she takes up the whole screen, along with Ivy Chen, Lorianne Valiu, and a bunch of people whose photographs are not there. But all their phone numbers are there, everybody, and all of their email addresses are there. This is Albert Gelman, the corporation that destroys lives, and we cannot let this company get away with this. So please, everyone, assist me in taking this company down. All right, we need 10,000 people to leave negative reviews on this company and just tell the truth. Don't even make stuff up. That they take your corporate debt and they put it on you personally. I have all the evidence in the world, everything. And what I'm hoping, it'd be awesome if this company was to sue me so that I can file a defense and we can duke it out in the courts, because I'm going to put an application into the courts to allow me to come in by Zoom, which would mean that all of you could then watch the case live, because I will be rebroadcasting it on all of my platforms. This is war, everybody. This is war. We all need to go to war with companies that do this. Trustees do not work for you. Insolvency or bankruptcy trustees work for your creditors. All right. I've said it 1,000 times. I'm going to probably say it a few more times this year, I am sure. All right, everyone. If you want to see more, just head over to my Facebook page, which is Mr. Kevin J. Johnston or official Kevin J. Johnston, and you will see the letter that I sent to these individuals where I make demands that I'm lawfully allowed to make to get them to fix the problem that they have created. All right, next, we got to talk about capital gains. So I made a video. I was standing on an old fishing deck, like it's a dock. It's a dock inside the Panama Canal. It's old and it's abandoned, but the government doesn't care if you walk out on this thing and cast a fishing line. It's not like Canada where some guy with a gun is going to point the gun at you and ask for a fishing license, right? Yeah, the cops don't bother fishermen here. You can fish wherever you want. You don't need a license to fish in Panama. So I walked on this dock, which extends about 350 feet into the canal, turned the phone on, held the phone up like this, and I filmed me talking with the Bridge of the Americas in the background. That's the bridge the Americans built back in the 40s, 50s, and got it finished in the 60s. And I guess the scenery was interesting. In the video, I discuss capital gains, why you should never pay them, why you should never report them. I'm going to play the video now. Let me turn the volume up here. Here we go.
I got to clarify this for you, Canada. There are no capital gains if you have a rental property or a property in a corporation, so long as you keep your mouth closed about what you own. There is no legal obligation that you have to the Canada Revenue Agency or even the province that you live in to report that you own a property or to report that you sold a property. Why would you tell them? All they're going to do is send you a tax bill, and you're going to be scratching your head thinking, oh, woe is me. Look what the CRA did. No, they didn't do that. You did. You snitched on you. If you'd like to know the real truth about capital gains, or if you have a lot of capital gains that you believe are coming down the pike, then you got to get a hold of me right now at kevinjjohnston.com. If I'm your tax guy and your legal agent, you will never pay capital gains in Canada.
Okay. 60 seconds. Short, sweet, to the point. You guys can see for yourselves over here on Instagram, it's got 450,000 views. You can see over here on TikTok, it's around 225,000 views. I don't know what it's got on the other social media platforms. I really don't. But it was reported to me that the video between all social media platforms that we put it on received over 1 million views. Cool. All right. Now, what did that equate to? Well, we really don't know. We got a couple of clients out of it. We know that for a fact. But what I wanted to point out here is the sheer volume of ignoramuses. Just like last week's show, we had a whole ton of people come on and become the armchair lawyer telling me that I am wrong. So I've got 50 of these slides to go through. I'm going to bring them all up, read them out, and tell you why the individual's right or wrong. So comment number 1 from Franco Soldit. Don't they find out if you bought or sold a property through land titles? That is, then it is reported to CRA through lawyers. Yeah. If you've got an awful lawyer, if your lawyer is a toolbox, he will snitch on you and send the information to the CRA. But just because your lawyer sends info to the CRA doesn't mean you have to report it. That's just your lawyer being a complete loser, which is why we don't use lawyers anymore, which is why I take care of people's sales. So if you're selling a house, it doesn't matter how many liens you have on it. The check goes to my corporation. I call you up saying, guess what? I got your dough. I'm sending you dough. I will send you every single penny that I possibly can, except of course for the mortgage. I got to pay that off or the new buyer will eventually get sued for it or otherwise. So we'll do that, but we renegotiate with the bank at that point. But every other lien, we don't care about because most of them come from writs, not from liens. And the writ's against you, not the house. So could you imagine if the CRA put a $1 million lien on your house and I'm your agent and you make $2 million on your house and I call you up saying, hey, there's no mortgage and I'm not giving the CRA the $1 million. Here's the $2 million minus my fee, of course. How's that sound? And then the CRA is going to get all upset and they're going to cry and they're going to say, Kevin did it to us again. And we can't do anything about it. So that's what happens. The CRA doesn't have power. Careful which lawyer you go with, everybody. If you're going to be selling a house, don't go with lawyers. All right. They hold your money in trust. They make phone calls to the CRA on your behalf. That's the first thing that they do. They call the CRA to see if you owe money, and they pay the CRA on your behalf, even without your permission. They do this because they know you're not going to beat the snot out of them. They know you're not going to sue them. Yeah. So if I do it for you, CRA gets nothing. Your creditors are going to get nothing. It's just how it is. It's all about business, everybody. I'm a ruthless businessman. Let's make money. And the CRA, they don't make money. They take money. So we're not going to cooperate with anyone that takes money. Here's the next comment that was made. Key, the messenger says, what about crypto? Yeah, well, what about crypto? If you have crypto, shut up about it. Why would you tell the CRA about your crypto? Why would you tell anyone about your crypto for that matter? Stop talking. No, you don't report your crypto to the CRA. They have no way of knowing until you tell them. I mean, let's imagine this is a hard wallet. It's not, but let's imagine this is a hard wallet with all my crypto on it. What's the CRA going to do? Get on an airplane, land in Panama, hire a private investigator, track me down, knock on my door, force their way in, sniff it, and then plug it in and see if there's crypto on it? Is that what you think they're going to do? Because if you think that that's what they're going to do, then I can't help you. Like, you really don't have the brain power to do business in any way. They're not doing any of that. So if you have crypto, if you have gold, silver, stocks, bonds, debentures, diamonds, emeralds, rubies, yellow diamonds, those are really expensive. If you have any of this stuff, shut up. Stop talking about it. What if it's a good question? Hot pickles. What if it's on exchange? Shut up about it. Just don't use Canadian exchanges. So I do like Shake Pay because they're easy to use, but they're Canadian. They'll snitch on you. And who's the other guy? Oh, geez, Wonderfi. Kevin O'Leary. He bought up Coinberry and merged it with BitBuy. They snitch on everyone. Don't deal with Kevin O'Leary. He's a scumbag, and he works with the CRA to screw you. So use American. Like Crypto.com is pretty good. Binance is pretty good. A hard wallet is even better. There you go. So next one. Alex the Panda says, how about a capital gain tax from selling the vehicles that were used for a rental business? Well, if you had a car rental business and you sell the cars in the car rental business, the odds of you making a profit on those cars, because cars depreciate every single day, slim to none. But let's just say, for argument's sake, that you bought a bunch of cars from a junker. They sucked, but you fixed them all up because you're a good mechanic. And now they're worth like 3 times more. You're going to sell the cars and do what? Call the CRA and say, hi, I made a 3% profit on my cars. Please tax me. Or would you just sell the cars and keep your mouth closed? It's a good question. Cars don't go up in value unless they're classics, but stop talking about it. Sell the cars. And as I've told everybody in many shows in the past, we open up numbered corporations for you that you are not the director of. We get bank accounts for you, take all your money and move it into those corporate bank accounts that are holding companies and do not do commerce. And someone says I sound like I'm from Minnesota. I spent 6 months in Minneapolis back in 1997, dated a great chick named Lise, who was there. And then she got really mad at me when I took a promotion and went to Phoenix, Arizona. And she never talked to me again. Go Bucks. So there we are. No, I'm not from Minnesota, and I do not say boot. I do say about. Yeah, I pronounce English words properly. I truly do. But thank you for pointing that out. Next, Jesse Butler says, this guy's going to have fun during his next audit. We've talked about this before. You've heard the videos. You've heard the conversations that I've had with auditors. All you do is tell the auditor, we're canceling the audit. Do not come to my property. You're banned. That's it. And the audit is over. The CRA is not the IRS. All right. The Canada Revenue Agency have no authority. They do not carry guns. They are not the IRS. You watch too much American television if you think that the CRA has any of the powers that American TV tells you that the IRS has. Right? American TV is vastly superior to Canadian TV, although you should not be watching TV at all. You should be doing what I'm doing and building a business. However, stop watching Hollywood and thinking Hollywood is accurate. They truly are not at all. Next one. Oh, I've already read that one. Next. So D9 Delta 9 says, I am currently trying to wrap my head around the mistake of law, unrecoverable contributions due to ignorance of the law versus mistake of fact and duress recoverable, but not darn near impossible. This is an excellent comment. This one is fantastic. So what he is saying here is, in mistake of law, if you misinterpret a law, let's just say, this is what he's talking about. All right. I phone you saying, I am with the Canadian National Empire flag waving something association, and you've been selected for a $5,000 fine. And if you pay it, that's a mistake in law. You didn't interpret the law properly at all. You didn't know the law. I just made a phone call and you panicked and gave me money, which is weird. I don't understand why people are so eager to panic and give their money away. Stop doing that. So then what he's saying is it's unrecoverable, which it's correct. How would you get your money back from a scammer? And with the CRA is trying to make it unrecoverable. So when they make phone calls to you saying, we assessed you and you owe us this money, and then you just friggin' pay it like an idiot, how are you going to get it back? You're going to go to accountants and say, I want my money back from the CRA because they scared me and now I regret that. You know what the accountant's going to say? I'm not going to lose my license for you. It's my living, I'm not. That's how they sound to me. Accountants in Canada are useless. CPAs are useless. They all work for the CRA. So how would you recover it? Yeah, I'm your tax guy. That's what you make me your tax guy. I get it all back for you. That's what this guy was saying in his question. Alrighty. Then D9 Delta 9 also says, okay, so he says the same thing there. He gets a question mark from someone named Nat. And then he says, the books I'm currently reading by Peter Hogg states that contributions can be recoverable if done under duress and if there is a mistake of fact. Yes, that's true. So when the Canada Revenue Agency makes a phone call to you, everybody, and they say, give us money or you'll go to jail, give us money or we'll take your kids, go to jail or we'll shoot your dog, that's duress. So you're giving money away under duress. Yes, you can get that back because you can sue them. You can file criminal charges against them. You can hit them with everything you've got or everything you want to hit them with. You just have to desire to do so. So getting back to the rest of his comment. But since people do not read the laws, correct, and learn the application or interpretation, they are deceived into being a person in law, a legal personality. Okay, so we've covered that one before. The term person is corporation. All right. Black's Law Dictionary is designed specifically and only to confuse you and deceive you. So remember when women were fighting saying, we want to be persons in law, and they were holding up the women's suffrage signs? Suffrage does not mean suffering. Suffrage means voting, essentially. And women wanted the right to vote. Why? I've got no idea why. And when women finally got personhood status, now they had to pay tax. Why would you do that? You ladies had it made, man. You weren't paying tax. Sure, you couldn't vote, but what does voting do for anybody? So these suffragettes, as they call themselves, screwed all of you by making women taxpayers alongside with men. All right, hold all your questions till the last half hour, please, everybody. That's what he's saying. So we've all been tricked into this personhood nonsense because person does not mean human. Person means corporation. So persons are legal fictions. The laws are heavily reliant on people being ignorant of the law, and the laws are backed by threats. An obligation is defined as a contract and coercion. That's correct. It's all threats, everybody. The CRA doesn't call you up and make a deal with you. They call you up and threaten you. And when someone is threatening you, that's intimidation. That's Section 423 of the Criminal Code of Canada. That's a 5-year prison term. But you have to charge them. You have to file the charges. You got to grow a pair and file the charges. The guy who made that comment, absolutely correct. And whenever Delta 9 makes comments, believe me, I read them right away. I'm happy when he comments on my stuff. All right, now we're going to go to this one. This one, oh my God, this one's so ridiculous. All right, this guy, he calls himself frankgentile.ca. Frank, Gentile.ca. It's a grown man. Looks like he's in his early 70s. And I'll say it to you in the way in which it sounds to me. CRA knows when you take a shit. My client was fined $70,000 in interest for trying that approach. It took 4 years after the sale, but rest assured they'll come knocking. Yeah, a grown man said that. I said to him, you appeal. You make sure your money is not in your personal name. Should you not win the appeal, you appeal that decision and then eventually file criminal charges for extortion and fraud against the individual CRA rep. The CRA knows nothing until you tell it to them. So you did something on your client's tax return that triggered information that they wanted to pursue. They are not the intelligentsia that you think that they are. And believe me, when you show up at their individual homes with court documents, they back off immediately. I followed that up by saying one more thing. I will point out that if this ever happens to your client and you don't fight for your client, then you are a horrible individual for taking your client's money and not solving the problem that you caused. Now, am I wrong to say that? You take someone's money, right? You take someone's money and then you get them screwed by the CRA. His answer is classic and not at all unexpected. frankgentile.ca. You know what? I haven't even been to his website, but leave negative comments for him too. This guy sucks. He says, first, sir, please do not call me a horrible person. You don't know me. Oh my God. That sounds like the Jerry Springer show. You don't know me. You don't know me. You don't know me. None of y'all know me. Oh God, man. I sell properties, but I do not advise on how not to pay capital gains, as that is up to the client and their lawyers and accountants. What a coward. So he just said he's a complete and total coward. Wow. And he's saying this publicly. And you know what? He's saying it to me because he believes that he's morally correct. He actually believes he's right. Let's continue with this. People who own investment properties usually write off interest payments on their mortgages, and tenants are also. So don't worry. The CRA is aware that its income property is subject to capital gains in Ontario. Furthermore, the income property should be legal and registered with the city. Please don't try to be smart with me. Where do we begin with that? This guy is telling you how to do business. You're going to buy a house. This guy that you're paying is telling you to go and register your basement apartment with the city or your rental home with the city, so the city can charge you more tax. Wow. What a complete piece of dirt. On top of that, what he's saying there, now he's partially correct when he says this, but what he's saying to you is that people who have rental properties, they write off the interest on the place, they write off all the expenses, and then they go ahead and declare the income. That's the stupid part. If you've got a rental property, put it in a numbered corporation, charge rent, and don't write anything off, because the write-offs are not going to balance out the earnings. Shut up about it. Quiet. Stop talking. Everybody stop talking about what you have. If you've got a rental property, you do not tell the CRA about it. Don't write anything off. It goes into a holding company. The holding company doesn't do commerce at all. All right. And this guy's telling me not to be smart with him. This guy is a complete fool. And he's obviously screwed a lot of people over. It gets sillier with what this guy's saying here. When I told him also that it's, to help his clients not pay capital gains, he says this: That is not my job, sir. I am a realtor, not a lawyer. Well, that's obvious he's not a lawyer, but he's not a good realtor either. And he's obviously recommending all the worst lawyers going. So I said finally to him, dude, it is your job to inform clients that they can avoid capital gains. I do know you just admitted that you will cooperate with the CRA. That makes you a horrible person. They are criminals and you help them. So if you're going to make comments on my channel, you better know what you're talking about, because you're up against a guy who knows what he's talking about. Not only do I know what I'm talking about, but I implement every piece of knowledge that I have against the CRA, against every branch of the Canadian government. I like to win. And I like to win using their stupid laws and their stupid rules against them. It is remarkable how powerful these rules and laws are against them when you use them properly. And this individual, frankgentile.ca, needs to be exposed for the coward and the criminal that he is. He is helping the CRA screw you. So could everyone please look him up and leave a 1-star review for him as well? What a fool. Oh, my Lord. Okay, next comment that came in that day. D9 Delta 9, this is the clever guy, came back and said a little bit about jurisdiction. They have subject matter jurisdiction because of the physical presence, which they can make a legal claim at law. However, they do not have personal jurisdiction, equitable interest, security agreement, and a valid trust indenture. He's talking about tax court, which has no jurisdiction over you and, no jurisdiction over your house, your money, or any kind of, and I mean any kind of equity whatsoever. So that's a very good comment. I'm glad he's back. Next, Stosky72 says, my experience selling a property was 100% opposite of what you're claiming. I made a trip to tax court as a result. Good hook, though. Okay, dude, so you didn't know what you're doing. All right, what did you do? You sold your property and did what? Exactly. What got you a trip to tax court? You did something wrong. All right, you did something wrong. Kareem says they're able to put a lien on your house if you don't pay. Dude, if your house is in a numbered corporation that you are not the director of, they cannot do a damn thing to you. Nothing at all. I've told everybody before on this show, the only tax you have to pay is property tax. There's no other tax that you have to pay. And anybody out there who's got a house in their own personal name, that's on you. That's entirely your doing. You have to smarten up a lot. You should grow up a lot and stop believing this to be the 1970s. It is not the 1970s. Things are not the way that they used to be. The Canadian government is stealing from absolutely everybody and giving it to foreign invaders. So protect yourself. I've been through this. I covered this in my show called Fear a little while ago, where I've got clients, the husband wants to move the house into a numbered corporation to protect it from the CRA. And the wife says, no, it just doesn't sound like anything I've ever heard of. And because I haven't heard of it, it can't be real. That's exactly what it is. You haven't heard of it because you're not intelligent, because you haven't studied, because the idea, the concepts of business are beyond you. So if you are married to someone, male or female, and the concept of what I am talking about here is beyond them, you're going to have to make the decision alone, or send them packing and protect your assets. I'm going to tell you this right now. All right, I've already had this conversation with a few people, and ladies don't like when I say this. It doesn't matter. I will walk away from any woman that I'm in a solid relationship with to protect my assets. I will walk away from a relationship just like that to protect what I have, because I've worked hard for what I have. I haven't worked hard to buy that woman. That woman's there voluntarily. The woman's not my property. My property is my property, and I will walk from anyone who says, don't do that because I'm afraid. You got to stop this fear nonsense, everybody. It's going to crush you. It really is. All right. Patrick McMahon says, I was called by CRA Collections. They tried to say it was the law, and then you informed them that it wasn't, and he lost his mind. Good. There are no laws. The CRA has no laws that allow them to do these things. They only have the Income Tax Act, which allows them to behave like jerks. But as soon as you say no, they can't do anything. All right. So this woman named Lucy Merrier, and she shows up a lot, and she says the same thing on every one of my videos. Good luck with that with a laughy face, because she's, I guess, 50 acting like she's 12. Next, Mike Stewart says, 1, capital gains must be reported in Canada under the Income Tax Act. Claiming otherwise is false. Absolutely incorrect. They want you to, but it's not the law. 2, the CRA has legal authority and doesn't need your consent to enforce tax laws. Yes, it does. Yes, it does, because if you don't cooperate with them, they can't enforce it. So it does. They need your cooperation. When the CRA sends letters out saying, we need your cooperation to enforce the Income Tax Act, the correct answer is, go yourself. That's what the correct answer is. No, I'm not cooperating with you. Get a court order, which they never do. Next, 3, the CRA can place liens directly on your property, not just writs against the individual. No, that's not what they do. They put writs on the individual, and then they take those writs that they acquire in tax court, and that's when they go and not always successfully put liens on the property. But what we do is we fight the writ. We take the CRA to court. They will not show up. We fight the writ. The writ goes away. The lien's gone because there was never a writ in the first place. Booyah. Or I help you sell the house, and you put the money in my account, and I pay you, and the CRA is getting nothing. And I mean absolutely nothing. Let's go back to this guy's rant. 4, selling a house doesn't erase tax lien. The CRA gets paid from sale proceeds. Yeah, if you go to a lawyer. If you come to me and my company, no, they don't. They don't get paid, because I will be the one that has the money in my corporate bank account, and I am not giving it to the CRA. Under no circumstances will I give anything to the CRA, no matter what they say, and no matter what threats they issue, and what writs of execution that they might have. So again, he's right if you go to a lawyer. He's wrong if you come to me. 5, saying you won't report to the CRA or encouraging others not to is potentially tax evasion, a criminal offense. It's actually not. Tax avoidance is what I'm doing. Tax avoidance is not illegal in any way. And everyone stay to the end, because I actually have the law written down. You're gonna laugh your ass off when you hear what I've got to say on this. Alrighty. The right to remain silent does not apply to tax or filing civil obligations. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. The right to remain silent pertains to everything. Everything. Understand? Everything. So the CRA, if they decide they want to sue you, in a lot of cases, what they do is they need you to testify against yourself. So you know what you do? You don't take the stand. But here's the deal. They're not going to sue you anyway. You understand, folks? The CRA does not want to spend $10,000 per day to have the Department of Justice send out lawyers to sue you, only to find out they're not going to win anyway. And if they lose, it sets a precedent that they suck. So they're just not doing it. If you're being audited, is it too late to change your property into a numbered corp? Absolutely not, because I will fire the auditor. I'll tell them, you're done. Get the hell out of here. We'll do everything on paper. Thank you very much. And then we move your house, and we delay them 6 months, and then they can't do anything. I know how to delay the courts. I'm very good at this. Very, very good at this. And then when someone says, yeah, but they seize your bank accounts, no, they don't. The CRA sends a requirement to pay letter into the bank, and the bank chooses to cooperate. That's what really goes on, Canada. It's not the CRA has no access to your bank account. They just tell the bank to give them money, and the banks do it. Sue the bank, file criminal charges against the bank manager. You'll do fine. And Christine is going to be adding the next 14 Fridays. There's going to be 2 spots to hire me for consultations. 2 spots every Friday for the next 14 Fridays. There we go. So next comment SS Rex 29 says, yes, they can revoke your driver's license because it was made under false pretenses and claim that you have no contract with them. It's all a scam. I'm not entirely sure what he's trying to say here, everybody, but the CRA cannot revoke your driver's license, nor your pilot's license, nor your hunting license, nor your firearms license, nor your pilot's license. They cannot take your license. The CRA has no such power. They are just a collection agency with 60,000 losers working there. That's all that they are. Everyone save your questions for the last half hour, okay? So in about 40 minutes, I'm taking questions. Next slide. Dusty Friend says, laugh out loud, AML tracks real estate sales and send them to the CRA in Canada. Enjoy, you will get caught. What's the penalty if the CRA says, hey, wait a minute, you sold a house? What happens? What's the worst that happens? They assess you and we appealed the assessment, and that's it. That's it. So guys like this, no, they know nothing. Here we go. Next one. All right. This Wayfarer guy says Income Tax Act, RSC 1985, C1, fifth sup, Section 3A and 9.1. I read them both, and there is nothing in there that says it's a crime to not report your capital gains. They want you to, but they have no way to enforce it. None. So when people say this kind of stuff, everybody, they grossly misinterpret one specific chapter out of the thousands of chapters and subchapters, quoting something like Isaiah 2:4 or John 3:16. What does that mean? It's just throwing numbers out there. Anyone can do that. I read everything that people throw at me, and I always interpret it properly. There's nothing in there that says you must pay a capital gain. There we go. This guy, Jerry Vanderpool, says property inside of a corporation. You sell the corporation, not the property. Yes, 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 yes. Clever guy. When you put your house into a numbered corporation, you sell the numbered corporation. The house goes with it. No lawyers, no land transfer tax. You can sell a house in 5 minutes. Yeah. You can sell a house in 5 minutes that way if you chose to do so. All right. Next comment. Rob, who cares, says, it's the same thing as taking cash for services. It's tax evasion. If you get caught, it's thousands of fines and penalties. Oh, the grammar is horrible, but if you want to take cash for service, take cash for service. Anything you put on a tax return, you put there voluntarily. So you could voluntarily just not put down your cash. You can voluntarily not put down your capital gain. You can voluntarily put a middle finger photograph right in the middle of your tax return and send that in. You can voluntarily pick up your dog's waste with it and mail that in. There's all kinds of ways to deal with the CRA. The worst way is to tell them what you make. The best way is to tell them nothing. Next. Rafael Guerrero says, yeah, right. Try it and find out. Well, this is what we do. We do this all the time. Yeah, I've sold a few properties in my time. Never paid a capital gain on anything. Nothing. Not crypto, not gold, not silver, not cars, nothing. I once sold a contract, a radio contract worth $1.5 million. There was a capital gain on that. I wasn't going to report that either. It's my money. I negotiated for that contract, not the CRA. They didn't pay for my fuel and all the dinners I had to buy, kissing ass to get the contract to take place. They didn't even pay for the long distance faxes. That used to be a thing. They paid for nothing. I'm not giving them anything. I'm not giving them a penny. I don't care what they cry about. All right, next. This one gave me a headache, but here we go. Ken Workman 68 says, failure to declare is an indictable offense. In Canada, indictable offense just means a federal crime. No, it's not an indictable offense, you fool. It is not an indictable offense. It's civil law. It's civil law. It's not criminal law. But it gets worse. I said, are you out of your mind? Where the hell did you get that from? And here's the best part. Okay. This is the answer is precisely why I keep telling you lawyers suck. My law degree. Regardless of whether or not the sale of capital property results in a capital gain or loss, you have to file an income tax and benefit return to report the transaction, even if you do not have to pay tax. This rule also applies when you report the taxable part of any capital gains reserve you deducted in a tax year. Nothing he said is correct. His law degree. I'm a lawyer. I went to law school, so I know what I'm talking about. You want to know why these real estate transactions out there screw you? Is because lawyers like this are out there. This guy knows nothing about tax law. He doesn't even know that there isn't really tax law. It's an act. It's not law. It's suggestions is what it is. So I said, law degree, huh? I am familiar with how afraid lawyers are of all government institutions. Your fear and misunderstanding of the law makes you a terrible lawyer. I hope you tell your clients about your fear levels being high. He comes back with, oh, actually, no, he didn't come back with anything. Yeah, that's right. He quit. He quit. That's what happened. So I called him out. And he ran away. And lawyers do that, by the way. Once they realize the non-licensed guy knows more than them, the licensed guy, they always quit. He's probably going to go back after he sees this video and insult my mom or insult my junk or insult something. They always do. And that's okay. Because you know what that means? It means I won. Next. This guy, Brad M. Gallant, he looks like a real beta male, says, do not take this advice. Please talk to a licensed professionals. Bad grammar. I said, yes, go to a licensed so-called professional and go broke. I've studied tax law for 40 years. There's nobody better suited for this than I. The difference between you and me is that I have guts. Then he says, this is tax evasion, and you can go to jail for up to 5 years. Now, this 5-year thing, I want to explain something about 5 years in jail, all right? Everybody says this. When I went to the Myanmarian war zone back in 2018, I was doing journalism back then, I hate talking about it, I really do, because the grotesqueries that I saw while I was there, they affected me really negatively for quite some time. But I went to this war zone. And when I came back from this war zone, I was arrested and taken straight to the courthouse without due process. I actually wasn't officially arrested. I was more like kidnapped. I wasn't read my rights. And I'm standing in a courtroom listening to this judge tell me, if you don't give us the flashcards from this trip you took, you're going to go to jail for 5 years. Oh, jail for 5 years. Oh, jail for 5 years. Kept saying 5 years. And then in Mississauga, my hometown, I was told by this loser pedo named John Kingdon. He is a Crown attorney at the Brampton courthouse. He told me if I ever run for mayor of Mississauga again, he'd make sure I go to jail for, ready for this, 5 years. This is a number that Crown attorneys and judges throw out all the time. You're going to go away for 5 years. 5 years, 5 years, 5 years. I go and read the laws later on, and I find out that it's like 6 months in the criminal code. Or I find out it's a fine and nothing else. So 5 years is this magical number that everybody involved in law just kind of rips out of the air and speaks. Woof, like a dog. Speak. Woof. Then he says, you're going to get a lot of people in trouble, and you are admitting that you're not licensed in any capacity to provide advice, recommendations, or any guidance. And for some reason, he puts a question mark on that. Then this chick named Shelley Tate rhymes in, says, you certainly have an oversized ego. Well, my ego is large, but it's not oversized. I mean, I know that I don't know everything, and the egocentric individuals out there believe that they know absolutely everything. Now, I am unable to tell you what I don't know, because I don't know what I don't know. And the same goes for all of you, but But I do know that I don't know everything. Ergo, my ego is large because I'm gorgeous, but that's about where it ends. It's not overly inflated like she is suggesting. She's entitled to her opinion, however. And then Hodgepodge 68 says, what's your degree in? Anyone can say they studied medicine by reading books at home. It sure doesn't make them a doctor or a medical expert. If you studied it, produce your credentials. Otherwise, you are simply giving people advice based on your own thoughts on the matter. Well, the difference between me and a guy like that is that I implement my theories. But here's what I do. And this is more important than these degrees and all these little courses that you take. I've got a certificate in, I don't know, water drinking. you can have a degree in women's studies. What's that? You know, at Humber College, you can have a degree in comedy. What the hell is that? I met 3 guys that are degreed. They've got a degree in comedy, and they're not funny. I'm funny. I used to do comedy. I'd make people laugh. These 3 guys couldn't make me smile. So what does a degree mean? It means nothing. And remember the story I told all of you where I went down to Windsor University and I gave them a $25,000 radio credit for commercials, and they gave me 2 degrees in one day. Remember I told you about it? What is a degree? It's a piece of paper written by some jerk. That's all that it is. But what I do, everyone, is when I cook up my theorem and my theories about how to defeat the CRA and the Canadian government out there, I take it to a criminal lawyer. This guy, I pay him 20 grand a year, just on retainer. He doesn't represent me in court. He just looks for a way to make what my ideas are be illegal. And if he says to me, there's 1%, 2% chance he might get arrested, we don't do it. We don't. So that's what I do. I implement my knowledge by first clearing it with a criminal lawyer to make sure that everything that I'm doing is legal, to which it is. And it bothers people like these lawyers out there that I'm hyper successful with what I do because I'm amazing at what I do. And I'm amazing at what I do because I do it 12 to 14 hours a day. And I do it 7 days a week with the occasional day off. It's not many. I am here to build an empire. All right. Yes, I've made about $1.5 million in the last year since I got to Panama. I couldn't make that kind of money back in Canada. But I do it. I'm making that kind of money because the sheer volume of hours I am dedicating to it. And I've got a team out there of people who are also working 12 hours a day. So you can get a lot done when you've got 7 full-time people working that long. And they get compensated very well, I might add, for their time. That's why I know what I know. I'm not working 6 hours a day like these jerks that you see in the chat room. All righty. Lucy says, I sold my property and never paid capital gains. It's been over 20 years. I like Lucy. Well done, Lucy. Next. Face Diaper says, really? Face Diaper X says, I thought lawyers did the reporting. Well, yes, if you hire a lawyer, then the lawyer does the reporting. And I would highly recommend that you never use a lawyer, period, because they snitch on you. They snitch to the CRA. Sorry, guys. TikTok is telling me to match this puzzle piece up. And every time I match it up, it doesn't work. Unable to verify. Huh. Yeah, whenever you go live on TikTok, they halfway through make you match up these little puzzle piece things. There we go. We're good. All right. So, guys, questions? I promise you, I'm taking questions in 25 minutes. We're going to rifle through some more of these comments. All right. Heidi Smith says, audit incoming. Not with me, everyone. Auditors don't get a chance at all with me because you don't have to cooperate with them. Carlos 7 Ferreira says, not true, all false, 100% false. They will find out. But like I said, yeah, maybe. And the big question is going to be, so what if they do? Next. Cuckoo 98 Custom says, what if someone snitches on you? The CRA has a snitch line, but it doesn't mean that they can do anything. And if they do, you call me and I get rid of them. Next. Raven says, if that was the case, why does tax dodger Mark Carney store his capital gains in a tax haven? Excellent question. And what I'm doing, everybody, is the same thing that all the wealthy politicians in Canada are doing. The CRA doesn't like that I do this. The CRA doesn't like that I know these things, but I know them. And as a result of me knowing them, you now know them. Everything that I do is what the politicians and the rich are doing in Canada. I'm just bringing it to the masses. And the CRA doesn't like it, and that is okay. Anytime I can upset the CRA, you just let me know. I'll be there. Next, Hemming Eric says, most of us have rental properties have been claiming expenses for those same rental properties on our tax returns for years. When those expenses suddenly stop, obviously questions will be asked. And if the CRA finds out that you have not reported a sale, surely that would be tax evasion. You see, this whole thing about tax evasion, this is not the United States. My God, everyone. So he's correct to say this. If you have a rental property in Canada and you're writing things off against the property, naturally the CRA knows about it because you're filing taxes, which is foolish, but he's right on that part. If you sell the property and they start asking questions, what's the correct answer, everybody? Remember, we've covered this a few times. Go F yourself. Don't call me again or I'm calling the cops, and then hire me and I get rid of them. You do not answer questions. You are not obligated to cooperate with the CRA in any way. There's no law that says you have to cooperate with any branch of government. Even the cops, when you're arrested and they've got guns, they tell you that you've got the right to remain silent. I'm telling all of you, exercise that right. Keep it closed. Stop talking about what you have. M.L. Bellamy says, I think there's a property transfer tax when you sell a property. That's one flag. Plus, there's a transparency register that is filled out each year. And of course, a corporation that owns a property will pay capital gains when the owner passes on the assets valued right. Oh, this is a headache, man. Transparency? There's no transparency. I'm not cooperating with anything. If someone makes a phone call saying we're with the transparency department, I'm going to tell them which one of my, thingamaboppers to chew on. Yeah, I'll tell them, chew on, pick it and chew, but don't ever call again. I'm not answering your questions. I also don't cooperate with the consensus people or the census people, my mistake. When they come by, how many people live here? How much money does the household make? Do you have any cats? Do you have any dogs? How much do you spend each year? Like, dude, for real? No, I'm not answering those questions. Absolutely not. If you have a corporation and you have a property owned by the corporation and you sell the corporation out of the corporation and then you do taxes, sure, there'll be a capital gain if you do taxes, which you shouldn't. And the other thing would be if you report the property, which you shouldn't. Here's what you should do. If you have a house in a numbered corporation and the person you're selling to is dumb and insists on taking the house out of your corporation, sell that corporation to me and I'll bury the debt. Yeah, in a share sale. Yeah, the CRA knows I do this and they don't like it. Too bad for them. All right, let's get back to the questions here. Manfred8198 says, this is not true. Then comments a second time. Not true. Well, everything I'm saying is true. Thank you very much. Jeff Black 5353 says, you need to review CRA reporting guidelines on property dispositions. Quit counseling people to commit tax evasion. It's tax avoidance, not tax evasion. And it doesn't matter what the CRA's guidelines are. I do not work for the CRA. Their policies mean nothing to me. I do not work for Coke. I don't work for Pepsi. I don't work for RC Cola. I don't work for Air Canada. I don't work for the American government. I do not work for anyone except for myself. Nobody's policies matter to me, and I will not follow anyone's guidelines at all because they're not paying me for my time. And if I follow someone's guidelines and it ends up hurting me, I will not do it. All of you should be as brave as this. Stop with this prison stuff. Believe me, in about 10 minutes, I'm going to blow your mind. If I haven't blown your mind yet, something's coming that'll blow your mind. Next, we have John Davis says, your premise makes no sense, really. If you own a rental property and you deduct your mortgage interest, then the CRA will know about the investment property. Okay, blah. So you don't tell them. If you've got a rental property, shut up about it. Put it in a numbered corporation, and honestly, just keep your mouth closed. You got to stop talking, everyone. So his premise that he mentioned there is correct, and that's only if you snitch on yourself, everyone, which you need to stop doing. Next, DVC Mac says, be careful. Don't risk third-party penalties and cost litigation for giving people bad tax advice. The Income Tax, here we go. The Income Tax Act requires the reporting of all gains and dispositions on deemed dispositions. There's no statute of limitations on tax evasion and significant material omissions. Well, everybody, what this guy is trying to say here is I'm supposed to abide by the CRA's guidelines. Those hurt me. I'm not doing it. But all of you need to get your homes into numbered corporations, ASA, MFP, and I mean now. You cannot grant the Canadian government any opportunity whatsoever to take what you have. And if you do not protect your properties, your money, your gold, your silver, your crypto with numbered corporations, you're asking for trouble. Nothing, this guy said, nothing the CRA wants pertains to you if your properties are hidden in a numbered corporation or if you just don't care. All right? If you just don't care, because the worst they can do is assess you. And an assessment is a wild guess, and we appeal that. That's how it works. And I can push the appeal 2 to 5 years down the road. All right. Assad Dean says, all property sales and land transfers get to CRA. Sorry, but this is not factually correct. No, they don't. The CRA is still on Windows XP, for God's sakes. And they hired all that diversity hires where the average IQ is less than 75. These people don't have the brain power and they don't have the tools for it. All right. They just don't. They're not magical. Right? They're not Peter Pan. They're not Tinkerbell. They're not sprinkling fairy dust on things and pulling stuff out of thin air. Doesn't happen that way. Next, 2123 South Mill. If you claim expenses to save on your income, then the government knows. The only way to get around this is never claim deductions. Yay! Somebody gets it. Woo, good comments. I like that one. Then we have Longy442 says, capital gains don't just come from secondary properties with a question mark. What a tool. I'm not sure what he's saying. Then some old woman, Patty Garrier, says false information. Okay, Patty doesn't look very intelligent. Then we got Rafael Guerrero says, you will go to jail. Ooh. I'm going to explain in a few minutes why that's not true. James Wilson, 8341, says his next advice would probably be to get a face tattoo and beat up the toughest guy on your first day. So that's a prison joke. And again, he's wrong. You won't be doing any prison time whatsoever for not paying capital gains. Next comment. I actually agree with you. This is Oyster Pappy says, I actually agree with you, unlike most people. The important thing is you cannot and shouldn't have reported investment income, rent received from tenants, and not have written off any income interest earlier. Boom. Yes, he's right. He gets it. There we go. Uh-oh. CJ Clayton, I think we have a troll here. CJ says, why, when you're wrong, do you attack people's looks? First off, CJ, I'm never wrong. Okay? I was wrong once back in 1973. All right. I put my finger in the wrong socket. Yeah, I was 2 years old. CJ, I will insult anyone I want, and I'll crack any joke I want. It's my show, dude. So tell you what, CJ, since you seem to want to be my daddy, and my daddy is dead right now, let's just get rid of you. There you go. People that don't like me don't have to be here. It's remarkable that there are people that cannot stand me, but they want to. They show up and they watch the show. I don't get it. I mean, wow, should I insult my own looks? We could do that. I mean, look at that scar right there. Look at it. Like, look how ridiculous that scar is on Kevin's face. Whenever he raises his eyebrow, you can tell that the left one doesn't move in synchronicity with the right one. There you go. God, man, people are ridiculous. They really are. Next, Tulio Marchioni says, that would be called tax fraud. Wrong answer. Point 1316, if the CRA happened to find out many years down the road Financially, one's life can be ruined. No, because again, the worst they can do is an assessment, which we appeal instantly. We object to it, we appeal it, and then we just sue them, and it goes away. That's just how it is. And yes, everybody, I am well aware of the fact that CSIS, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, and the Canada Revenue Agency are watching this show, and I couldn't care less because I have cops as clients. The CRA is trying to destroy cops too. And no, I would never tell you who they are, period. I will never tell you who any of my clients are, not now and not ever, even if compelled by the courts in Canada. Not doing it. I will not do it. There's no court order that I would ever follow in Canada where I would scrag on a client. Not going to happen. House Painter says, Kevin, seriously, misinformation, the shite on the internet, yeah, I'm not sure what that means. So next. All right. So we've covered the stupid people. Let's just get rid of all these slides here so they're not in our way anymore. All right. And now what we're going to do is what I promised. I'm going to blow your mind. So I decided I know this stuff. All right. So it's not, I guess, easy for me to just say, I know this stuff. Trust me. Trust me. You can trust me. I know this stuff. That's not my sales pitch. What I decided to do instead was go directly to ChatGPT. And let me read verbatim what I asked it. And I just took screenshots and made these slides. So what I'm going to read to you about capital gains in Canada comes directly from ChatGPT. Here we go. My exact statement or demand of ChatGPT is review Canadian case law and report to me anybody who did prison time in Canada for not reporting a capital gain on a property that they owned. And it took 30 seconds maybe. And it says, ready? I was unable to find any Canadian court cases where somebody specifically received a prison sentence solely for failing to report a capital gain on a property. Yeah, it's right, because there isn't. Nobody in Canada has ever done jail time for not reporting a capital gain specifically. That is absolutely true. So all these idiots are going, you're going to go to jail. Don't drop the soap. Bubba's going to be your new friend. All right, there you go. So let's go back to the rest of what ChatGPT had to say. It says, key point, and remember, I copied it directly. I altered nothing. Failure to report a capital gain is indeed an offense under the Income Tax Act, which is not law. It's just a bogus document with civil penalties, example, up to 50% of the underreported amount. And in cases of gross negligence, offenses that may lead to penalties and or up to 5 years of imprisonment. Now, there is a caveat to that. And that is you have to have committed a bunch of other crimes for 5 years to even be on the table. All right. ChatGPT just told you no one's ever done jail time in Canada for not paying a capital gain. So 5 years, who cares? It's written there, but it's not enforceable. That's what ChatGPT is saying. Next, tax evasion or fraud, which could include deliberately omitting capital gains, is a criminal offense in Canada and punished by more severely and potentially with lengthy jail terms. But because Canada has a voluntary reporting taxation system, you can voluntarily say, I don't feel like filling out this line right here. Just because there's a line number on your tax return doesn't mean you have to put anything on it. And that's the part I cannot seem to get into everybody's head. It's legal for you to put your name and social insurance number at the top of your tax return, sign it with no numbers, not even a zero, and send it in. That's it. The worst they can do is assess you. It's legal to not put stuff on your freaking tax return. Wow. Back to ChatGPT's answer. high-profile tax evasion cases involving individuals or businesses, including some resulting in multi-year prison sentences. Ready for this? Most important thing right here. Were all linked to broader schemes such as fraudulent deductions, unreported income, or complex corporate fraud, not just a failure to report capital gains. Is that incredible or what? What does that mean? Somebody got charged with fraud, extortion, fraud over 5,000, racketeering. Maybe they had a couple of RICO cases in the States and the Americans want them over there. All kinds of stuff went wrong. And on top of that, they didn't report their capital gains. So that is what it's saying here. Nobody has ever been charged in Canada or done jail time in Canada for not reporting a capital gain on their house or their crypto or their car. But there's more. There always is. Summary. The charge, failure to report a capital gain. It's a standalone charge. Prison term, no known cases. Just like I've been saying for the last 2 years. Reason, rarely prosecuted alone. Just like I've been saying for 2 years. Then we got the charge of tax evasion and fraud, including omitted capital gain. Prison term up to several years. Reason includes broader misconduct. Example, false deductions, hiding income, but it should also have added fraud and theft and all kinds of stuff, man. They don't, the CRA does not charge people. You get that? They don't charge people. Then it goes on to say, no record of someone accused and jailed for just omitting a capital gain, such as the sale of a house or a property. All right? No, none, zero, none, nada, zero, niet. Right? I'll say it in French. No. I'll say it in English. No. Nobody has done jail time for not reporting a capital gain. So this video that I made that angered so many people on Instagram that got 450,000 views, I was absolutely correct by saying you don't have to pay a capital gain. All right. Next, sentences have been handed down when omitting capital gains was always part of a wider criminal tax fraud, but not in isolation. Conclusion. There are no documented Canadian cases of someone receiving jail time solely for failing to report a capital gain on a property. Charges are usually linked to a broader tax evasion or fraud, and sentences result from overall misconduct, rarely from a single omission. Okay. All right. But wait, there's more. Okay. Notable real estate tax evasion cases. Balker Boulard in Richmond, BC. Case summary: in 2024, Boulard pleaded guilty. Didn't go to trial. Did not go to trial. Pleaded guilty because it's cheaper to plead guilty. He pleaded guilty to tax evasion for failing to report $7,485,246 in assignment fees from flipping 14 properties between 2011 and 2014. Sentence? Received a conditional sentence, no jail time, 2 years less a day, plus a $2.5 million fine, which they say was matching the evaded taxes. But you don't have to pay fines in Canada. I know. I've been fined for over $5 million for having correct political opinions that the government says are not politically correct. I don't care. I'm not paying it. I told them before the trial even started, or the hearing, if you will. I'm not paying it. I don't recognize the authority of this court. My God, you're wasting tax dollars hand over fist here. Then we have Surrey, BC resident Mr. Dudwall. Case summary: between 2007 and 2011, Dudwall willfully omitted real estate business income and capital gains from sales and rentals in the greater Vancouver area. Everyone does that in Vancouver. Outcome: while specific jail time wasn't mentioned, the CRA imposed a $23.1 million penalty with individual penalties reaching 2.5 million. The case illustrates that unreported property gains can trigger major criminal proceedings. But then I read further into the case law. He never paid the fines. Good for him. And the 15 months was on a guilty plea. It never went to trial. And he didn't go to jail. It was a suspended sentence. And a suspended sentence means you like it's house arrest. You get to go home and hang out with your buddies and eat sushi every day and pizza if you want to. So what power does the CRA have? If people are pleading guilty because it's cheaper to plead guilty than it is to go to trial, that's not setting a precedent at all. That's just someone pleading guilty. All right, there's more. There's more. All right, I gotta love what I do for a living. Legal framework for penalties for real estate non-reporting. Under Section 239 of the Income Tax Act, knowingly omitting omitting taxable income, including capital gains, is a criminal offense. Penalties can include 50 to 200% of the evaded taxes and up to 5 years imprisonment, which, as ChatGPT has told us, has never happened once in Canada. The CRA's criminal investigations program, which is just a bunch of losers. They're not cops. They're just losers. Tell them where to go and the investigation is over, has resulted in numerous convictions totaling more than 108 years in jail across 58 individuals from April 2019 to March 2024, with hundreds of millions of taxes recovered. That is okay. No, they did not recover the hundreds of millions of dollars. That's not true. I followed all these cases, by the way. In 5 years, the CRA got 58 convictions out of 200 million tax returns per year. 200 million times 5? How many is that? Is that like a billion tax returns? Come on, man. It's crazy. It's crazy. Think about that. Like, there's not-for-profit corporations, there's individual people, there's corporations, there's proprietorships, there's banks. Like, all these reports go into the CRA, and they only got 58 convictions. 58. That's the best they could do. I read the case law on all 58 of those people, and none of them went to trial. They were all plea bargains, all of them. And even though they all got jail time, none of them went to jail. They all got house arrest or suspended sentences, all of them. You know why I know what I'm talking about? Because I read the actual court documents. This is the documentation that the courts provide. So it's public information, by the way. It's free to look at. All of you could do it. It's just that I do it because I do this for a living. I point out the hypocrisy of the Canadian government, but also that they are not as powerful as you think. All right. So summary. Prison time for not... Oh, hey, look at that. I got a cowboy hat. Woo! Thank you. Buller did not receive incarceration, but a conditional sentence. Dudwall's case triggered massive penalties. Prison time was not publicly detailed. I found out. I told you. 15 months house arrest. He's fine. Generally, unreported capital gains are prosecuted under tax evasion fraud, but they're never as standalone offenses. Jail time is possible up to 5 years, especially where there's a deliberate intent and significant evasion. Significant evasion would be something like those two guys. 7, 8, 9, 12 million bucks. But those guys screwed up because they had their houses in their own names. And if they were all in numbered corporations, like I tell all of you to do, nothing would have ever been discovered by the CRA, because the CRA cannot figure out who owns the property if it's a numbered corporation and you do not submit to the government who the shareholders are. And you're not legally obligated to tell anybody who the private shareholders are. Why would you do any of that? Anyone? Hey, wow, man. So it is so easy to not pay tax if you just protect what you got, man. Put everything in numbered corporations, like I've been praying that all of you do for like years now. Please do it. All right. We're at 9,300 likes on TikTok. That's not enough. Everyone, double fingers. Keep going. Fun. Keep going. Double fingers. Let's get the likes going. Same thing on Rumble. Right around there is the like button. Please get the thumbs up going. And over here on Instagram, same thing. Get the fingers rocking, guys. Let's get the likes out there, because the algorithm, thank you, picks all that up and jets it out, and more people are going to find out more about how they can protect what they've got. I've got one last slide here to cover. Broader context on other fraud cases, although not centered on real estate, high-profile fraudsters like Earl Jones, the Ponzi scheme, and Garth Dabrinsky, corporate fraud, received multi-year prison sentences, but their charges related to fraud in other areas. Like, we're talking full-blown international fraud. Right? When you're defrauding the public of hundreds of millions of dollars, yeah, you're doing jail time, okay? Don't defraud the public. Don't steal from little old ladies. Don't profess to be number one in something when you suck at it and take people's money and then get on a plane and leave. They'll find you. That's the kind of thing they'll find you for, because that's a blatant crime. But not reporting taxes is not a crime at all. All right, so we know now what the CRA can do. It's nothing. And how do you avoid the CRA? Here we go with the slides, everybody. Shut the F up. Okay, everyone? Just stop talking to the CRA. Stop snitching on yourself, and you're going to be just fine. We have 30 minutes to go. It is now question and answer period. Here we go over on Instagram. Kevin, if you're working 12 to 14 hours a day, how's having babies going? Well, my third child turned 1 2 days ago. I got another one on the way. Yeah. Good for me, right? Yeah. And never mind, like, you don't need to know the details of the chick. I'm not telling you who the chick is. All right, that's it. None of your business. Next, let's have a quick look at the Rumble room for questions here. All righty. How fast after you sue someone like the CRA or an employer will you get a court date approximately? How much you typically get if you sue for $10 million? If you're suing the CRA for about $10 million, you can count on them coming with an offer like $20,000, $25,000. That's typically what their lawyers will recommend. But what you need to do is say, okay, I'll take the $25K, but you're going to do this, and this. And you dictate the rules of what the CRA's obligations are going to be. So you tell them, yeah, we'll take the money, and I never owe tax again. Leave me alone. Don't contact me anymore. And they'll probably agree to it. How can I cash out crypto without paying capital gains? I want to use the money for a down payment on my first home. Good. Take the money out and shut up about it. Like, just quiet. Don't tell anybody. It's your crypto. It's your cash. Please be quiet. And anybody who's asking, my website address is kevinjjohnstonmyname.com. Impact 007. They drained $258,000 from my account and won't return the funds. Can I send you an email? Yes, Impact. On my website, use the contact form on kevinjjohnston.com. All I have to do is the tax return for a couple of years before that problem started, the year of the problem, and a couple of years afterwards, establish a new pattern and get that money back. There we go, everyone. But as soon as the CRA makes any kind of threat, if they send you one letter saying you owe tax, empty out your bank account, empty it, get a brand new numbered corporation. I'll register it for you. Get a new bank account in the new corporations. Move all your money. There we go. Okay. Question from the original DK. I saw an older video where you spoke about a woman who brought you a business that was in trouble. She started working with you. Do you still work with people that bring you business in debt? Look, anybody out there can be a sales rep. If anybody wants to be a sales rep for me and find people out there who have corporations that are in desperate need, like desperate debt, I buy those corporations and I take all of your director's liability away from you. So if it is GST, PST, payroll, CEBA loans, I take all that debt away from you. If anyone out there has got friends, uncles, brothers, cousins, sisters, lovers who have corporations that are in dire debt, bring them to me as a client. The commissions are phenomenal. I pay the best commissions going. 50% of profit, by the way, for those who are curious. Nobody else does that. I'm even told by my peers that I'm crazy paying that kind of a commission. But it's what I do. My money. I'll give it away if I want to. How do you buy a house on a corp without being on a corp? What we do is we register the corporation for you, and you're going to be the director for about a week. You get 2 bank accounts. We remove you as director. Boom. Transfer the house to the corporation. It is that easy. All right. Flawless Restoration says, I got 15 people who would work with you. Well, good. Let's start bringing corporations in and payroll. Anybody who wants me to do payroll, I'll save them thousands of dollars a week. So let's get going here. Sorry. How much corporate debt do I buy? Well, I mean, it's unlimited. Right now, the biggest debt we bought right now so far is $7.75 million. And the guy's ecstatic. I mean, he got his whole life back. Anybody whose corporations I buy, they get their lives back, like just that day. That's how it works. CRA assessed me at $350,000 for personal tax for 5 years. That means, Steve, I got to go back about 8 years, fix all that tax up. You'll owe zero by the time I'm done. Zero. All right, let's have a look at the Facebook and YouTube rooms here. Richard DeConnick says, I'm trying to send you an email, but it doesn't appear to work. What's the best email address to reach you? Just go to my website, guys, kevinjjohnston.com. Use the contact form. I'll get to it. From Kick, Tremblay Brown. What's this? Somebody, okay, he wants to sell me something. No. Do I have FAS, Kevin? Are you an FAS, Kevin? Do I have FAS, Kevin? What's FAS? Do I have it? Am I it? I don't know. Like, you're asking a lot of questions. Dusty, elongate FAS, please. Moving back to the Rumble room for a quick second here. Question: if I get a letter from the CRA stating I owe someone or they want info, can I get your permission to say that I will hire you to handle my case? Maybe they'll go away. Well, I mean, it'd be better, Steve, if you just did hire me. All right, I'll send out a standard form to the CRA, let them know that I'm your legal agent, and it's done. Locallogistics.ca is asking how to reach me. KevinJJohnston.com. My website again is KevinJJohnston.com. How much are my services? Well, if it's personal tax, $950 per tax year. If it's corporate tax, $2450 per tax year. If it's getting rid of a capital gain you've already kind of screwed yourself on, it is $7,500. If I'm representing you in court, we have to work out a price on that. And if I'm buying your corporation, it's 10% of the value of the corporation's entire debt, and it's gone. It is entirely off your plate. People, I know that Christine is working on it. Try this. I think tomorrow morning, the next 14 Fridays in a row are going to have 2 hours that you can purchase. All right. So there will be 28 consultation times opening up. Probably tonight, but guaranteed for tomorrow. It's going to happen. Holy moly, what a cannoli. Holy moly, what a cannoli. All right, good. If you've hit me on my contact form, I will get to you as quickly as I possibly can. All right. Rumble room is clear. Facebook is clear. Back to TikTok here. Stocky says, CRA is asking for receipts to review for employment expenses. I don't have receipts. What do? I have to send in a non-compliance letter, sections 167 and 231, where it's non-compliance. If there's no active investigation, they cannot even ask you for that information. So we're going to tell them the answer is no. We will not be complying. Remember, you cannot be compelled to do anything for free. You just can't. And if they say that they're not going to accept your expenses, no problem. We appeal that and redo that tax year. That's all that we do. All right. Revenue Quebec. The notary will report to Quebec Revenue on a capital gain. How do you avoid it? Make sure I'm your guy, because I won't report that. And I would use a notary outside of Quebec, because notaries are national, regardless of what province they work in. You're just going to the wrong people. That's all that it is. Fakan is saying, what about the sales of over 50K of crypto? Does it get reported to the CRA? What should my friend do? Well, if it's a Canadian exchange, yes. They report everything over $3,000. So that's ShakePay, Coinberry merged with BitBuy. That's Kevin O'Leary's WonderFi nonsense. Any Canadian exchange will report anything over $3,000. Stop using Canadian exchanges. I buy my crypto typically at Binance, crypto.com, sometimes Kraken. I move everything over to my hard wallet. This is not my hard wallet, but this is what a hard wallet would be, sometimes smaller, sometimes bigger. And store your crypto there. You know, hey, there's my hard wallet right there. All right. So we just got to be smart about our crypto, folks. All right, Hakan? That's all you got to do is just stop using Canadian exchanges. In fact, stop using Canadian anything. I use Canadian maple syrup and I buy Canadian gold and silver. Nothing else in Canada is worth buying. Nothing. And no Canadian banks are worth anything other than holding some cash. Canadian banks suck. Oh, and hey, here's some news for you, everybody. Did you know, and I just found this out 5 hours ago, the Portuguese government, their mailing system, like their service, that's like the equivalent of Canada Post, is no longer sending mail to Canada because it's too inefficient. Canada Post sucks so much that Portugal will not send mail to Canada anymore. How pathetic is your country when Portugal won't send mail to it? My God, that is insane. Getting back to the questions and answers here. Treacher says, how can I make this appointment with you in Panama City? I guess you would talk to Christine, my right-hand man there, and she'll book an appointment. It is that simple. Treacher says, I'm ready to pay. Well, Treacher, you're my kind of guy. So why don't you head over to my website, kevinjjohnston.com right now, put down Panama City meeting in the subject line, and we are going to address it ASAP. So I've got somebody, I think somebody wants to do a video question here, which means I got to crank the volume. 1 second. All right. So we had 5 requests to come in here. Toast Glenn. Let's see. Glenn, did you want to come in and ask your question? Let's see what Glenn has to say. All right. What if somebody's on disability? Can they open up a corporation in the United States? Anybody can open a corporation in the USA. Even if you're banned from the USA, you can open a corp there. You may not be able to go there, but you could absolutely open up a corporation there. No problem whatsoever. Does claiming home office employment expenses impact principal residence exemption on capital gain? Well, no, because I just told you you're not going to report a capital gain. Why would you do that? So no, and no, and no. I can't get a reply from the website. Well, you have to. I mean, the website works. We use the form all the time. All right. So, Treacher, get a pen. Let me know when you got a pen. I'll give you the email address to use. All right. Let's see if anybody else wants to come in here. Eve Penny is wanting to come in and say hello. Let's just click on the accept button here. Okay, Evie Penny, if you want to come on in, I'm calling you now. And someone's asking if I remember Adam Skelly. Of course I do. That was a great time. Hello. Hi there. We're down to 17 minutes. So what's your question? Go ahead.
I'm currently behind in my mortgage payments, and the bank is trying to sue me and get a writ and seizure going. So, with that being said, it like I get court letters all the time. I've been ignoring it. I've been ignoring phone calls. What do I do?
All right. Well, first off, you can never ignore any letters like that because the way that it works in Canada, everyone pay attention to what I'm saying here, is if you get a letter from somebody and it says legal notice on it, whatever it is that they say will be taken as fact if you don't reply and counter what they are saying. Now, I think all of you remember that crazy joke that I pulled where I made an accusation of this really awful lawyer that he was breaking into the Toronto Zoo and having his way with the giraffes. I think you all remember that. And I gave him 15 days to deny it. And I told him in the letter, if he did not deny it, I was going to publish it as fact because that would be him by default admitting it was true. So think about that. If that goofy letter holds legal water, imagine what legal weight a letter from the bank is going to hold if you ignore it. So the whole thing here is we need to delay your case as long as we possibly can. If they're talking about suing you, then what we need to do is find a reason to sue them first before you get sued. Now, typically it's harassment. Because of yours truly here, everybody, you can sue any bank, any cop, any government agency in Canada for tort harassment. And you can find out for yourselves just by typing in AHS versus Johnston, me, that you can sue them for harassment. And that case would get pushed to like 6 to 10 months down the road, most likely. That's going to buy you 6 to 10 months to get your life into order a bit more. So if you wanted me to be able to work with you on that case, I would need to know your entire expense load and your earnings and do a comparison between the two. And then also see some of those threat letters, because we need to know if they're in violation of the law, and also what contracts you've signed, so we can find a way to defeat them, or at least delay them further with the loopholes in the contract. Do you have all that information?
And one of the things that I like delaying someone saying that I could go find a lender to remortgage my house. And interest rates, it would be like right now I'm paying like 2% interest rate.
Yep.
And if I remortgage it, it's a lot more.
Probably 7.5%. Yeah, you could go to a private lender, but they would want to be the first mortgage. They never want to be the second mortgage. So you'd have to get enough to pay off the first mortgage, and then have them be your first mortgage holder. But the good part about private lenders, almost none of them have penalties if you pay it off early. So that is a solution.
Yeah, like I have about 900,000. It could be more depending on what the market is. But I have an appraisal value of about 1.2 on my house.
What province are you in?
And I have about 250 on my mortgage.
Okay, so you have equity. What province are you in?
I'm in Mississauga.
Oh, my hometown. Oh, I hate that place. Okay.
That's why I follow you. Exactly what you're saying is true. Like, I went through 2 custody battles, and my legal bills were exactly the same in 2 cases. And the first one was the matrimonial home, and I took over the matrimonial home. But the second one, there wasn't any asset split at all. There wasn't anything. But my partner at the time just carried on with motions, and
Okay.
my bill ended up being another 40,000.
Okay, I have a suggestion. I got an idea, but it requires relocation. Mississauga, I know who runs the show there. I know everything about that city. The reason that they wanted me out of Mississauga is because I know every dirty deal that city does. Every year, you can count on that city raising property tax. It might be an idea to consider Alberta at this particular point. If you have about 900K in equity, you could buy a great house for cash. If you sell for the full value in Mississauga, you get a great house in cash, probably somewhere around 16 to 1800 square foot house with a garage. And you could do that in Calgary, Red Deer, or Lethbridge. Don't do Edmonton. Edmonton sucks. That town sucks. But you do have that ability. Go ahead.
Because what happened was when I realized that my second custody battle for my son was going to be 40,000. I went to TD Bank because at the time I had $40,000 in investments, and I went to TD and I said I'd like to take out a loan. Some more. I need money, and they wouldn't let me any more money.
Okay. So because I got more questions to answer here, I get what you're saying. And I'm going to say something that you may not like, but this is absolutely true. Where you live right now sucks. The crime rate is about to dectuple. I'm promising this now. All this third world stuff they're bringing in lands at Lester B. Pearson International Airport. It goes to Mississauga. It goes to Etobicoke. It goes to Brampton. It would be a wise idea to sell in Ontario now because the market is beginning to crash already, and go somewhere where you can pay cash for a better house in a cleaner, safer neighborhood. It's a very good idea. That solves your problem. I know that relocation is difficult, but it's the miracle cure for what you're going through right now.
Well, hey, listen, I've lived in my house here for 38 years, and that's why I'm following, because I'm in total agreement with what's going on it. Like, I've been in corporate sales since 85, so I'm in total agreement. I see the demographics, I see what's going on, like, with the public, I like to see it all, and I'm just like, yeah.
Okay.
However,
Never use family as an excuse. Don't use pets or jobs as excuses. I don't use those excuses. I mean, look, I had to leave Ontario. I told my family, I'm going to go. I'm going to get established. We'll see you when you move there. And I didn't see them for 8 months. But I got established in Alberta. And then when Alberta dried up, I left Panama. I got established, and they're going to come here. That's just how it is. You can never use family as the excuse. It's either you want a better life or you want your life to suck. You got to choose, right? Because life's about hard choices.
I don't have options. I know I have, I know it's just the next step.
Yes. You tell me what you decide and let me know on my website. I got to take some more calls here. Thank you so much. All right. Take care. Thanks. No worries. Okay. So we got questions here in TikTok. Can you explain how that works? The corporation, do we just move our money? Well, you register a new numbered corp. Well, I do it for you. Register you a new numbered corporation. You get a bank account at a federally chartered bank and a provincially chartered bank. Remove you as director on the corporation. Congratulations. You've got 2 brand new accounts. You can get a certified check or just cash out of your bank and move it into the new numbered corporation, which does not do any commerce of any kind. Ta-da, your money is now safe. Alrighty. Folks, if you can't get on my website, you might be spelling my name wrong. It is my name, Kevin, easy. Middle initial, J. Last name, JOHNSTON.com. And when you get there, you'll see that smiling face along with some spinning coins and black background. You know that you're on the right site. Sometimes people spell Johnston with an S-O-N, and sometimes they put an E at the end, Johnston. I'm neither. I'm the Johnston. There we go. Treacher. Write this down. CITY500MEDIA@gmail.com. When you sell crypto from a non-Canadian exchange, but eventually deposit in Canadian banks, CRA notified? Well, it's not CRA that's notified of money going in and out of your bank. It's FinTrack. Totally different ball of wax. And I'm going to do a whole show on them coming soon. I can't get into that in the last 6 minutes here. So to avoid capital gains tax or any tax, we buy the house in a corporate, not with a corporate name, but a corporation. The house goes into a corporation. And that's it. Done. So when you sell the corporation, the house goes with it. No transfer tax, no lawyer required. None of that nonsense. And if you die, then your kids just get your shares. No transfer tax, no land tax, no tax, no nothing. And remember this, everyone. When somebody in your family dies, for God's sake, shut up about it. Quiet. Don't go to Facebook looking for sympathy. All right. It sucks when someone that we love dies. I've lost a lot of people in the last 10 years, a lot. And it's soul crushing every single time. But you notice how you didn't see any of that on my Facebook page? It's no one's business which of my loved ones are dead. And I'm also going to be draining out their entire estates. I don't tell the CRA until 3 years later about the person's death. Why? It's none of their goddamn business. That's why. Period. All right. Checking a couple more questions here, everybody. Okay. What about CRA trying to get your customers to pay them? Excellent. Excellent question, because the CRA will do that. Do you know how the CRA knows who your customers are? That's right. You tell them. Which is why you never do tax returns in a corporation. Register a brand new numbered corporation. We never do a tax return in that corporation, and they will never know who your customers are, ever. That's just how it is, ever. So if they are doing this to your customers, we immediately register a brand new numbered corporation for you, move your trademark to that corporation, let all your clients know that we're no longer billing out of Corporation A. Now we're billing you out of Corporation B. So the request to pay Corporation A is now dud and irrelevant because we are now Corporation B. You got to jump on the phone and let your clients know. Now, this is a service that we do provide. It's not cheap. We charge $5,000 for it. But what I do is I send a legal document and a letter and a warning to every single one of your customers to explain to them the CRA has made this demand. We do not owe tax, first off. And secondly, they're making this demand without a court order. And if you obey anyone's commands without a court order, you're subjecting yourself to litigation, possible criminal charges. All right. Oh, Scooter asks, what's wrong with Edmonton? We don't have time for me to tell you what's wrong with Edmonton. But since you live there, obviously, I'm just going to say, go Oilers and carry on. Okay. Yeah, please leave Ontario. I can hear you all the way in Muskoka. Dude, I got a big mouth. People can hear me in Nunavut. People can hear me in Moscow. That's not an insult at all. Is it possible to pay cash for a house in Alberta? The realtor doesn't have to report it. Dude, I've got one. Okay. Cash. Yes. But you got to get me to set the deal up. I deal with 2 individuals and 2 individuals in Alberta only who take cash on a house purchase. Absolutely correct. By the way, anybody who hires me, I give 10% discounts when you pay cash or with crypto. Yeah. Cash or crypto, 10% off. Imagine owing me $100,000. If you pay cash, you get $10,000 off the invoice. No shit. Oh yeah. I love cash and I love crypto. I actually love crypto more than cash. The cash thing for me is more in defiance of Mark Carney, who says that he doesn't want people spending more than $10,000 cash at a time. Even if he makes that illegal, I'm still going to do cash transactions for whatever amount that I want. Mark Carney can kiss it. And Mark Carney, he's going to get his ass handed to him by Trump. So I'm not worried about that clown in any particular way at all. All right, just checking a few things here. All right, everyone. The showtime is now over on Rumble, but I'm going to stay on TikTok and on Instagram for another 15 minutes. I want to say thank you to everybody who's watching tonight on, let's name them here: DLive, Facebook, Kick, YouTube. I said Facebook. What else do we have there? We've got Mob Crush, Restream, everywhere. Thank you. Rumble, thank you for watching. On all of those platforms. Thank you for all the interaction. Thank you for all the likes, all the shares. Wow, what a show tonight, everybody. I want to say thank you to all of you for being here. Thank you for sharing the show. My name is Kevin J. Johnston. This is the Tax and Money Show that runs every single Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time right here on freedomreport.ca. I love you all. And good night.